So, hello and welcome everyone. Today we have with us Advocate Somya Singh ma'am, an alumnus of the Campus Law Center, Faculty of Law in Delhi University. Advocate Somya Singh ma'am is a founder of Avant Garde Corporate Communications, which has represented more than 200 financial creditors before NCLT. With more than 8 years of experience with the bar, she specializes in areas such as insolvency and bankruptcy cases, IPR, foreign exchange regulations, and prevention of money laundering laws. She has also exercised in law and in commercial litigation and also certified PoSH trainers and consultant. With that, ma'am, I, Vaibhav Sharma, welcome you from the side of DS family. So, would you like to give
More than honored. Thank you so much, Vaibhav. It is always a great honor, and I feel very humbled when I get an opportunity to connect to the younger generation and budding lawyers. Because as a first generation lawyer, I always felt that some guidance from the fraternity can make you go very far, especially during the early years. So I think by this medium also, and thanks to Pranam for this opportunity, I would like to share maximum out of my experiences, limited experiences of 8 years. And if it will be of any help to the coming budding lawyers, I'll be grateful.
such a kind words, ma'am. Ma'am, we would love to hear from you about your journey as a lawyer, like why you chose to pursue law and why you chose to.
So, Vaibhav, everyone I think has an interesting story. It is just not paved as a way for us to proceed further as a lawyer until there are two previous generations into the same field. And I'm sure you, being a first generation lawyer, you must have had your own personal story to choose law as a subject and as a profession also thereafter. God bless you. So as far as my experience is concerned, during the college school days, I had interest in science and maths, but I was very much inclined towards humanities as well. So whenever someone used to ask me, what's your favorite subject? I always, that came the reply from my end, that used to be general knowledge. I like everything. I like something of everything and everything of something. I don't want myself to get limited to science or mathematics, to pursue engineering or medicals or anything of this sort. Not that I did not score well. Of course I did. I was a good student, but somewhere deep down I thought that that's just not the knack that I've got it for. When I was in the ninth standard, my uncle suggested that the kind of argumentative attitude that I have towards everything in life, maybe I should pursue law. And at that point in time, at least about 2 decades ago, law was considered to be something which is unapproachable, and one has to be a total geek about it, and one has to read a lot, and one has to have some godfather in the field. At least say about 18 odd years ago that I'm referring to. But eventually, what I was made realize by people of my family around, that law is something that touches every aspect of life. You want to be a politician, you want to be a doctor, you want to be an IT engineer, or you just want to lead a life of a common civilian, there is some way or the other you will lock horns with law, or misuse of it by some authority, other individual, or maybe yourself at times. So, of course, I found law as very interesting, and eventually I took commerce in my 11th and 12th. So, till about 10th, I studied science, and then in my 11th and 12th, I took commerce and math. So, I had the freedom to choose whatever I could. But then eventually, I never had a knack towards commerce or going towards, chartered accountancy or doing an MBA. In my family, people had pursued humanities as subjects as much as the other people have pursued engineering and other subjects. But then, if you have someone who has studied humanities and who has taken government exams, the younger generation has the pressure कि तुमको भी एक government exam तो लेना पड़ेगा. I mean, everyone is taking UPSC exam and PCSJ and whatnot. So from that day onwards, I had little inclination towards humanities. But then the ultimate goal was definitely law. And to utter surprise to all the law students who are going to hear this interview, I could not crack the CLAT exam back then. So my batch was the first batch that took the combined test of all the national law universities. and I didn't score well enough to get into the one of the NLUs. But I never wanted to waste time, and that's why I took admission in Delhi University in IP College for Women, and I did philosophy honors. By the time I was into the college, I realized that this college and this university and this city has offered 10,000 things to the student, and one has to pick up and choose as to what really interests you. So I got a lot of exposure when I came from a very small town to Delhi, and after getting admitted in Delhi University, we had bazillion things to do and choose and experience, and that's how I got a knack of public speaking and participating and be done with the thing called stage fright. When you're very, very reluctant in speaking or addressing people in mass numbers. Eventually, I realized that I would want to finish my 3-year course, and I did not take the CLAT exam next year. What I decided was I will complete my philosophy honors, and then eventually I will pursue law from the Campus Law Center. And that is one exam that I took and eventually cleared and did my law from Campus Law Center, which I did in 2014.
Very relatable story, ma'am.
I'm sure.
And very rightly said that every person of first generation lawyer have a very interesting story with them. If I will share my story, you will be laugh. So I belong to a very orthodox family, and my family priest suggested, after seeing my patrika, that this child should go in law field. And after that, subsequently, my whole family was like that he will go in law field, and
convinced.
And then I also got convinced that I can go in law field, because I had an inclination towards humanities, but not specifically
law. Okay.
So with that, ma'am, like as you belong from Gorakhpur and you chose to practice in Delhi, so as it is said that we should practice in our own hometown. So like what were the things which inspire you to practice in Delhi itself?
Okay. So my father was a banker, and he retired just 3 years ago. We used to have a transferable job. So I completed my education in say about 7, 8 odd different cities and different schools. So we always had that knack of packing our bags and moving ahead. So never had a problem in actually change or shift of place. That was never a problem. Delhi being Delhi, as I stated earlier, had a lot of things to offer, and the kind of exposure that you get in DU, you will barely get. I mean, not that all these centralized universities are no good. Of course, BHU or Agra University or Kanpur University or Lucknow University or Gorakhpur University, they do have good, very good curriculums, graduation and post-graduation curriculums. But then DU has various other proximity factors that combined together shape up your personality or your perspective towards how do you want to go forward in life. It is just not about college. It's about research institutes. It's about various seminars going on. I mean, I'm talking about the pre-COVID era where everything was not online. So if you have to attend a seminar or you have to do a sort of a crash course or a training, Delhi is there to provide you all of that. And having said that, all of these things put together, if nothing else, about 50 odd colleges competing with each other would give you that edge. If you do well in say about hundreds of students competing for a particular exam or participating in particular competition or just being part of a particular event or a festive or a college event or everything of that sort, that gave you exposure in a way that people from different walks of life, people from different temperament, different states came together, and of course they had their own advantages and disadvantages. Delhi became a central point. And once you're part of that ecosystem, it is very difficult to detach yourself from that and go back to the places where you know that you have less opportunities, or rather say lesser opportunities. As far as legal practice is concerned, Delhi has the apex courts, the high court, district courts, various tribunals and forums, which is amazing when it comes to a single city witnessing all these forums for practicing lawyers. So any law student or a fresh, college pass out or a budding lawyer, it is nothing but a temple. Delhi has so much to offer, right from the basics to the apex level, that you can actually brush up your practice and then you can polish yourself as a lawyer and scale up and become a seasoned lawyer, which is very difficult to get, as an opportunity to get in cities like Gorakhpur or Kanpur. I mean, they're there, but then they're already at a district or a sessions level max. There are no tribunals there. Of course, there are certain forums like State Consumer Forum and all. Again, very minuscule, limited, scope. But in Delhi, like you mentioned earlier while you were mentioning about my areas of practices, I was very fortunate enough to work with a very prominent and hardworking lawyer, Mr. Ramakant Garde, who used to deal in economic offenses and financial crimes. So my initial first case was of that of Mr. Hassan Ali Khan for IT invasion and ED and PMLA. So for a student who is just passed out, it's very fancy to start the practice from that level.
Yes, ma'am.
And not just bail matter or some matrimonial matter or a motor vehicle issue. Or I'm not saying that people practicing in these areas are any less. But then if you get exposure at such a high profile matter, then you already scale up your own standards that, okay, if this is what the senior has offered, I have to do maximum and I have to do my best, and it's only up from here. So this only Delhi could give me. Had it been not Delhi, maybe Mumbai or Bangalore, but still I say that people from Bangalore and Mumbai also vouch to come and practice in a city like Delhi, which has apex court and various appellate tribunals for all across the country. And that's why Delhi becomes the perfect place for a litigating, a person. Had it been a corporate counsel or any other profession, I would have preferred Hyderabad, Pune, Mumbai, Bangalore, any other city. But as a practicing lawyer, I think वो जो गढ़ कहते हैं ना, गढ़ तो दिल्ली है. And right from the trial courts to appellate level to the apex court, you have it all in one city. So because of that proximity factor, maximum courts in say in diameter of say about 5 kilometers, you have it all. And at times there are days when you pack up your files in your car and then you run around the cities, go to 2, 3, 4 different courts and take up the matters and be done with it. And that is only possible because and you have all these forums in one single city. So yeah, that's the reason why I got stuck in Delhi.
Very rightly said, ma'am. It is temple for all the lawyers. So, ma'am, like as a PoSH trainer and consultant, so how would you recommend that how anyone can get certificate of a PoSH trainer, and like what all PoSH Act is equipped with, like what all areas does it deal with?
Okay, so as far as PoSH is concerned, luckily after 2013, when it was mandatory for all the corporates to have their own PoSH policy and their internal committee when they have more than 10 employees. It is a Pandora box that has opened. A floodgate has opened where there are so many companies having employees more than 10 that need to have their own PoSH policy, IC committee and all of that, and train their employees. Say about thousands of odd companies are still yet to have their policies. They still haven't complied with it. And we as law students need to equip ourselves right at this level so that while we pass out and we start practicing, we are equipped enough to be known as certified PoSH trainers who can draft the policy, who can train the employees, who can ensure that the quarterly reports are submitted. And that is just not the rocket science. You just need to be well equipped with the PoSH Acts, and then you need to be little versed with Information and Technology Act and of course Indian Penal Code. Having said that, apart from that, of course, there has to be strong employee agreement also of any organization, because any organization is known for the kind of goodwill it holds vis-a-vis what its employees feel, or any other person, or even an agent or a customer, how he feels, what kind of a equation they have when it comes to feeling secure. And it is just not about prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. It is about gender sensitization as well. This PoSH policy is mostly seen as anti-men. That's just not the case. The actual training is the process through which one must understand that how the provisions can also come handy to a male employee, how to represent a male employee, how to defend a male employee. A male employee per se does not mean that he is accused. He is alleged to do something, and until unless you're not trained, you will have a biased opinion. So we as law students, apart from a full throttle legal career, can have a training for ourselves, get certified as PoSH trainers, and then eventually we can take up a lot of work. And like I said, the floodgates are open, and a lot of companies want their policies to be drafted, want their policies to be reviewed, want their external members prefer as lawyers to be the external members of the internal committee, and then of course the submission of the annual reports. So I did my certification from SUVTUD. It's a German acclaimed online portal through which one can get a proper certification. And it was a 2-day certification program that lasted, say, about 10 odd hours, where they also gave you a reading material. And at the end of the day, we also had to make a presentation, and eventually we were given certificates to it. Now, to start with, there is no rocket science in getting yourself a certificate for PoSH training. You need to be very, very thorough with the latest laws. You need to be thorough with the PoSH Act. And like I said, IPC and IT and few other acts here. And they say about Evidence Act, which is, inevitable when you get through any sort of a litigation, civil or criminal side of practices. Just be thorough with certain important provisions of these acts and a complete knowledge of PoSH Act, and you yourself can make a module, a training module for employees, and yes, make money out of it, because the annual fee of an external member or a trainer or the person who drafts a policy is fancy enough for a first year or a second year student to of course, you also brush up your knowledge, and B, it's not that difficult that you need to practice for years under a senior to understand how it goes. I mean, internet has it all, and then you just need to get yourself certified, read, make your own training module, and yes, make some money also out of it. It's just that one has to be equipped when it comes to latest amendments being made in any respective act.
Now, could you also tell us something about the Avant Garde communications and the inspiration behind the same?
Okay, so I passed out in the year 2014, and I was very active when it came to extracurricular activities in college. I was short of attendance, and I don't know if it is safe to mention spill all the beans, before students. Now that I'm a practicing lawyer, but let me tell you in little bits and bits here and there. I was barely into classrooms. I was lucky enough to be part of one of the universities where we had world-class professors. So there were certain professors who wrote the books, and the books were part of the curriculum for all the country, the entire country. So we were lucky enough to have those professors as our, teaching faculty, and we could counter question, ask bazillion questions, and they were ready to entertain us. Having said that, despite having such world-class teachers, for some reason or the other, I was more outside the class than inside. And I realized after the completion of law that I really need to sit down and have a knack of what the subject is all about and how to demystify law when it comes to any act. I pursued, like I said, that when you are you come from a small North Indian small town, especially from UP and Bihar, you are bound to take at least one government examination. Otherwise, you are a nikhatta student. So I took PCSJ because UPSC, I told my family, is just not my cup of tea, despite having the fact that I love GK, but that's not enough. So I said that I want to pursue PCSJ, and I took a coaching, and I studied law as a subject like 10-15 hours a day. That does not mean that I became a geek. It's just that there is a certain way to study an act. You don't have to just, take up anything and everything related to that subject, or just mug up every section and provision and all the commentaries. You need to make a flowchart out of it, divide the act into different sections, and then eventually understand the rationale behind the act. Missing the exact words of a particular section or article does not create any problem. Because even Ramjit Malani, when used to argue for a bail, say for murder, he also went through provisions of IPC a night before. Okay, someone who has spent more than 50 years in the practicing field. So referring the books is something which is absolutely normal. Even in courts, while arguing, not only the lawyers but judges also go through the acts and they refer the acts. So that means they do not expect you to know from first word to the last word of the act. And if that is the myth that you have got for all these years, let me just break it for you. You do not need to be a geek. You do not need to mug up everything. You just need to understand the rationale behind any act, which is nothing but based on common sense, right? So after studying law like all by myself for 1 year, I joined a lawyer and I practiced with him, where I got opportunity to represent clients on his behalf individually on my own, before various tribunals, high court and district courts. And then I was lucky enough that I was just thrown in the water and I had to either just swim or sing, because he never taught, he never do any spoon feeding. Like, I was the troubleshooter, that this has to be done by the end of the day. How you do it is not a problem. For 1 year, I studied the substantial part. Now I was only lacking the procedural part, which I was lucky enough to get in the second year because I practiced for a lawyer. So the procedural part, how to file a case, how to remove the objections, how to create the matter from the scratch, how to represent before the court, how to get the dates, how to get adjournments, how not to get the adjournments, how to get the relief, how to get the final arguments, how to, when you're not sure of what you're doing, for the sake of interest of the client, take the blame on yourself and ask for a shorter date and be prepared for the next date. All of this, nitty-gritties I learned in 1 year. And then I eventually realized that now that I know the substantial and the procedural part of the legal field, I can be all by myself. So in 2017, I found this proprietorship firm, Avant Corporate Communications. And by then, our aim was to pick up variety of cases. We did not limit ourselves to particular kind of a tagline, say, a firm that deals with only criminal cases or a firm that deals with only civil cases. Because one thing that can take you in the law field, that can take you really, really far, is how aware you are of your surroundings. So, how diversified your portfolio is your actual success mantra in litigation. If you pick up Kapil Sibal, if you pick up Chidambaram, if you pick up any other prominent lawyer, say Sir Abhishek Manu Sangvi or any lawyer, they do not restrict themselves to one particular kind of case, right? They argue, and they argue with great, great background and a great, great level of hard work and homework done. But it should be of variety. So that is something that was kept in our mind while we were trying to start our work, that I did not limit myself or, say that I put myself in a particular chamber that I am this or that kind of a particular lawyer. So the kind of cases that we dealt with in a very short span of time was full of variety, and it still is. Apart from individual clients, we also had corporate clients. Then at the same time, we had PILs, and we also drafted agreements and contracts for the firms. So there was a lot of variety in the kind of work that we did, and we did it on a pan-India level, and by God's grace, we're still doing the same, even during the time of COVID, say 1.5 years of COVID. So the aim was not to be, portrayed as a law firm that deals in a very limited form of work, but diversified work, because I'm a first generation lawyer. And after say 8 years of practice, also I'm still to say that okay, I am the master of this particular field. So I'm trying to say that I'm a trainee who deals with all kind of cases, and someday, few years down the line, I can say that I specialize in say one particular kind of work. But till then, I deal with all kinds of cases.
Okay, ma'am. So as we can already see, but it has been also recognized by a news agency that you are a prominent speaker of youth debates. So would you like to give any comments for the young lawyers, that how the oratory skills they can develop oratory skills, and how does this help in the law as a career?
Sure. So the thing is that a huge credit goes to my professors from IP College who pushed me really hard to go and participate in maximum events that I could. And eventually I did radio and I did some of correspondence work also for a news channel. I was an English correspondent for TV9 in the year 2012. I did radio. I did it with Big FM in the year 2011. And then eventually I was on news channels as a student. That kind of gave me the opportunity to remove all the hesitant thoughts in my head that blocked it, that I can't speak or address people in huge mass. I was also the general secretary of my college, and that's why I had to address students in the assemblies on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. So while dealing with maximum people from different walks of life, yes, the interactive skills were brushed up and polished, I can say, in a way. So like I said, the actual success in the field of litigation is your procurement of work. When you sit across your client, you should have that assurance, that confidence in yourself that you can deliver justice for your client. Once you start getting the flow of work, constant flow of work, which does not happen initially, and that's why it is said that initially you should pick up anything and everything that comes your way, and eventually you should have the luxury to choose what to do and what not to do. I mean, what kind of cases you should do and what you shouldn't do. But initially, as a lawyer, as a litigating lawyer, full-time practicing lawyer, you should pick up everything that comes your way. Having said that, if you are very average with the research thing, it can still be dealt with. If you're very average with your writing skill, if you're very average with your oratory skill, legal field in our country gives you thousands of opportunities to improve yourself. Like in medical science, if you erred for one single time, it can cost a person his life. In litigation field, if you have grossly erred in some case, the court itself will give you another opportunity to rectify your mistakes. So you don't have to be the perfect one right from the day one, right from the first hearing. You learn and you improvise, and it's a knowledge bank. You have to lay down a very strong foundation, and then it's a knowledge bank that takes you up from there. Like supposedly, if I have dealt with one bail of murder, and I've studied hard and taken everything that comes into account while drafting a bail or arguing a bail, and I have kept it aside in my laptop somewhere. Next time when I get the bail matter, I know what all I have to consider. So that's how you prepare yourself when it comes to a litigation, that you have to, and out of all the interest, pick up everything, do your research work thoroughly, and then eventually keep a record of what every single case made you learn, because that's the knowledge bank on basis of which you're going to build up your career, and the knowledge bank will also go bigger and better, and you can always come back to that knowledge bank that you have created all by yourself in your own words, that you can refer. You have to do hard work only once, and you can always refer back, and your content is ready. So procurement of work, काम मिलना सबसे बड़ी सक्सेस है. अगर आपके oratory skills बहुत अच्छे नहीं भी हैं, तो भी आप सीख सकते हैं, उसको आप improvise कर सकते हैं. अगर आपके writing skills बहुत अच्छे नहीं हैं, तो भी आप सीख सकते हैं. देखिए, the easiest part is that it's very easy to get the drafts or samples, all across. So you can always take a few drafts and then align it with your particular facts and circumstances of case, and then build up your own draft. As far as oratory skills are concerned, the best learning that happens is in the court itself. So to all the interns, to all the budding lawyers, my sole advice would be, go to the courts. Go to the courts, pick up a court, sit in the court. At first day, you'll feel that everything is going beyond my level. Okay? We read res judicata, or we read res sub judice, and it takes us 10 odd days to realize one single concept. But when we go to the court, that is discussed in 5 minutes. And first 5 minutes, we don't understand what's going on. But
Yes.
eventually, when you're part of that particular court, you see that what you learn by going through the books is 10 times more time taking than what you learn in the. So go to the, see how a lawyer develops his argument, how he assesses the concerns of the judge, what kind of a judge puts across when a been built up, and eventually how smartly the is an art. And then in the court, you have variety of cases.
With that, ma'am, we come to our last question that are there any current opportunities, internship opportunities with you, and how can we contact your firm for these internships?
Okay, let me just give you the shocker of life. I, for a matter of fact, as a student, did not do a single internship and did not participate in a single moot court. Not a single internship.
Wow.
And having said that, I also now judge moot courts from different colleges, and I have interns every, on a seasonal basis, twice a year, summer and winter. So what I want to tell students is, I'm not discouraging you from doing internships. Internships are very important because it's all about observation and brushing up. But if you haven't done this so far, you're in the final year or you're in the penultimate year, you haven't lost anything. You can still start afresh and you can still make it to the top. That's the prime bottom line which I'm trying to tell across. As far as internships in our firm is concerned, I always put up an advertisement in the LinkedIn, and then eventually I pick up interns from there. So we are still due to pick up interns in the month of December. So person can always follow me on LinkedIn and then keep yourself updated. Check out for the opportunities. And yes, I would love to have certain interns because my own personal intern who's working for me right now, I keep her on toes. And she's been smart enough to revert it in the way I want her to be. So yeah, I will be more than happy. Just stay tuned to the LinkedIn page and you'll get to know if there are any opportunities for the month of December.
For sure, ma'am. With that, we come to end of this interview. Ma'am, it was such a great opportunity to meet you, and it was also great to have your time on this platform. And I hope that many of the students who are inspiring to go in these fields will be inspired by what you have said. And of course, at last, I just want to add that we all can relate very much with you, ma'am. So this was a very good interview, and I enjoyed it a lot. With that, thank you, ma'am, for joining us.